Find out what to expect for winter this year with the TV6 Winter Weather Special. We talk about the Farmer's Almanac, weather alerts, and take a scientific outlook at the winter weather ahead. The TV6 Winter Weather Outlook exclusively on TV6 Plus. Soon, plow trucks will be clearing roads, kids will be enjoying snow days, and our landscapes will be transformed into a winter wonderland. Hi, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Perez. Take a stroll with me as we look at this year's TV6 Winter Special.
We're here at the Superior Snowmobile Club in Twin Lakes, getting you ready for the season on the trails.
What's the science behind the old Farmer's Almanac, and what can we expect for winter?
Ahead of winter season, it's time to get a grip on the roads. We'll talk about sanding and safety tips coming up.
Hey, I'm checking out the latest with the Old Farmer's Almanac. You know that it's been a go-to resource for farmers since 1792. There's so much information in this book. Everything from tide times, moon phases, planting guides, and a lot of people look at it for their long-range forecast, especially in the winter. I spoke to Carol Conair, an editor at the Almanac, to find out what goes into their forecast.
Robert B. Thomas was the first editor for over 50 years. So what we know is that his formula of being right about the weather and having what he called useful with a pleasing degree of humor, and that humor is, I think, why his succeeded and outlasted everybody else.
The key element Thomas included in his formula was solar activity.
There's about an 11-year cycle of sun activity, and that's been recorded for about 25 cycles. That's a ton of data. And so those, our weather, our patterns really do connect to that cycle.
Now they're working with an AccuWeather team to forecast their seasonal outlooks, and they still combine sun activity, meteorological, and climatological data.
Okay, maybe year 6 of a cycle that had a triple El Nino like we just did, what's going to happen? And so we're really looking for patterns and then putting our best science even on those and saying, okay, here's the patterns, but then what else do we know?
Conair says last year they had 100% accuracy for their precipitation outlook and about 69% on temperatures. They predicted a colder winter with below normal snowfall for the eastern half of the upper Midwest, which is our region. Last year's snowfall was near normal in many areas across the UP. Western Marquette County had more than 200 inches of snow. Inland ranges were between 100 to 180 inches, and around 80 inches of snow along Lake Michigan. I looked at the data closer to home for the National Weather Service office in Negaunee Township. December had near seasonal temperatures and above normal snowfall. January was warmer with near normal snowfall but a slight deficit, and February was warmer with above normal snowfall. Their projection slightly missed the mark. This winter, they're predicting it'll be colder and snowier.
Looking ahead, it's going to be a lot of it's abnormally cold and a lot more precipitation than usual for your area this winter. So get like your boots and your shovels. Not that you're pretty good at that stuff where you are.
We'll see how their predictions fare, but what I can tell you is your phone will likely buzz a lot this winter with the latest storm alerts. There are several winter weather alerts. Here's Cameron Chin to explain the differences.
Let's go over some of the winter weather alerts we'll see across the Upper Peninsula. The first one, and the one we usually see before it gets too intense, is the winter weather advisory. This is a combination of snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rain, anything in between, and that is usually a lower intensity system but could still produce around 3 to 6 inches of snow in some areas. Another one is the snow squall warning, something we don't usually see that often but is typically associated with strong cold fronts, but do not last very long. close to 30 minutes to an hour, but could still lead to whiteouts, and localized areas could receive more higher amounts of snow. And from winter weather advisories, we typically see the winter storm warning, a storm system usually producing heavy snow and or ice in most places. And over a longer period of time, 8 inches of snow in 12 hours and in 6 to 9 hours could produce 6 inches of snow. So this is when usually you should be taking your time, going 10 to 15 minutes before you head out to work, giving yourself extra time to head out. The one we usually don't see that often, we saw it last year though, is the blizzard warning. And snow isn't the main factor, it is the winds. Sustained winds should stay over 35 miles per hour. Wind gusts even higher, 40 to 45 miles per hour can be possible, which will lead to lower visibilities, around 1/4 of a mile in some areas, and even less due to some of the snow drifts we could see in some areas, and usually lasts over 3 hours. We saw it some areas receiving over 2 feet of snow. It was definitely a lot of snow we saw last year. So when you see any of these colors on the radar when you are watching your TV6 News, give yourself an extra bit of time before heading out, and we will provide the latest updates for winter storms you'll find on the TV6 weather app, so be sure to stay tuned to any newscast and stay informative when it comes to the winter weather hazards.
There's all sorts of ways to stay connected with TV6 in times of winter weather. On the TV6 and Fox UP mobile weather apps and at uppermichigansource.com, you can send us your storm reports, including snowfall totals. We love to see how much Ishpeming got. If you got 2 inches, Copper Harbor 8 inches, Palmer 2 inches in 2 hours. We love to see those reports. They're very helpful to us. Also, on the TV6 and Fox UP weather app, we have the radar. You can just tap the map icon when you open the app, then zoom in and out on the location you're looking for, and also see the hour-by-hour Futurecast. And if you log on to Facebook, we have a page, TV6 Weather Road Reports. In times of winter weather, you never know what you could run into on the roads, and it can change in just a few miles out there. So be sure to tell us what you're seeing out there, and we'll be sure to pass it along.
All right, it sounds like she's good to go for the road. Making sure that you have proper tire pressure is crucial in the winter. Talking about driving, here's Noel Navarro with some important reminders from the County Road Commission and the Michigan State Police while you're traveling this winter.
As the potential for snow and ice rises, so does the need to keep roads safe in the UP. Hand in hand as you sharpen up your driving skills this winter season. Road commissions throughout the region ready to help you maintain traction on the slippery travel to come. Marquette County Road Commission Director of Operations Ross Olson took us on a tour of the whole sanding process, starting in Tilden Township.
This is our sand pit that supplies the highway sand for Ishpeming. We haul about 7,000 yards out of this pit. We screen it first, run it, process it so we don't get any big rocks in it.
The fine particles send off to the processing plant at Commission headquarters in Ishpeming.
This end loader here goes over to the salt shed, gets a scoop of salt and sprinkles on top of the loads after they get dumped at 2 to 3%, and then the excavator bales it up in the pile so that it stays loose, it doesn't compact, doesn't freeze, in one big chunk of sand.
A fleet of 18 to deploy and spread the material across county roads and any other areas of high traffic as much as possible. This includes state roads per an agreement with MDOT. The trucks are capable of treating 2 lanes of road in one sweep. A grain of sand for miles of safety down the road. I'll take it. And from there, it's up to us. Driver responsibility, maintaining caution behind the wheel, and maintaining the wear and tear on your wheels. How's the tire tread, Cody? Yeah. Just passed the penny test. But if you're looking for optimal traction, automotive service writers like Mike Grange at Quality Car Care can suggest the proper tires based on your vehicle.
A lot of customers are actually putting winter tires on these days, which gives you the ultimate traction. They're also coming out with all-weather tires now. It's kind of an in-between an all-season and a true winter tire, so you don't have to switch them out. With an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, you don't necessarily need to have a true winter tire. It's a good compromise that you can then run year-round.
Winterized and raring to go. But perhaps the biggest challenge for us, it's patience. Michigan State Police Lieutenant Mark Giannunzio with a friendly reminder to take it easy during that frosty time of the year, where the number of crashes spike especially during those first few weeks of winter.
We're used to right now being at the fall roads where the concrete is dry and it's a lot easier to stop. However, now with the slick roads, the snow on the roads, if you don't give yourself extra time and you hit the brakes, you're going to be going off into the ditch.
And we all know it can go from mush to slush to ice any given you for winter. So patience.
We think we're prepared, but we can never stay ahead of it 100%. It takes 24 hours to clean it up, and it takes about 2 hours to make the whole county white. Drive slow on ice and snow. Give us room to do our job.
Patience.
Those big trucks that are out there plowing and salting and sanding the roadways, they have their green lights flashing. They are literally paving the way in front of you. Probably on the side of that vehicle or in front of that vehicle, the roadway is in much worse shape.
Prepare ahead, allow for extra time, and keep a safe grip along the way. Noel Navarro, TV6 News, Marquette County.
The UP is a playground for winter recreation. Did you know that we have more than 3,000 miles of snowmobile trails? Ben Kuchner-Kavich caught up with a trail groomer to see how they're preparing for the season.
Mike Stretch Fick is in his 7th year as a snowmobile trail groomer. He grooms trails from Toivola to Rockland for the Superior Snowmobile Club. He says it takes a village to keep the trails in good condition.
Prior to the snow, every club has a weekend or multiple weekends where we ask for volunteers and club members to come out, and we do what's called brushing and signing. They clean up all the trails, get all the overhanging trees that are down, and put up new signs, repair the signs that are there, and get the trail prepared for the snow so we can actually do some snowmobiling.
With the possibility of a warmer winter on the way, Fick says it's a waiting game.
If we actually have a lot of snow already on the trail and it gets warm, you can't run these machines out there and expect us to do any work because it's too soft, and we'll actually do more harm than good. So a lot of times we'll pull these machines off the trail and wait till it gets cold again, and preferably some more snow too.
For trail groomers, it's best to get as much as possible done before the snow starts to pile up.
Once the snow starts coming, especially ice storms, everything starts hanging down in it, and as you can see, this thing's sitting like 10 foot in the air, 12 foot high. Those branches start bouncing off everything. It's better off to get it out of the way pre-season.
Fick says the biggest challenge is just keeping the trails open.
We do our part, but it's hard to keep our trails open, for one, when people disrespect private landowners. And the other thing, we have a lot of like washouts and things that do happen by nature, and we can't just go fix them like we used to.
The Michigan DNR has a campaign called Ride Right to let people know how to stay safe on the trails. For more information on Ride Right, visit uppermichigansource.com or the TV6 and Fox UP mobile news app. Ben Kuchner-Kavich, TV6 News.
Bodies of water like Little Bay, Denock, and Gladstone aren't frozen yet, but the ice fishing season is drawing closer. Ice fishing is a winter activity that draws many into the UP. The executive director of UP Travel says ice fishing has seen a lot of growth over the last few years.
Ice fishing in the last several years has been growing for some years, but during the pandemic it kicked off even more. All of a sudden, people were discovering what outdoors means, and that meant all seasons. And so it's one of the sports that continues to grow.
Nemechek says growth has allowed businesses to create rental shanties for fishers to rent out for a day. Businesses like Bayshore Resort and Tackle in Gladstone say the winter season is vital for everyone in the area.
It means a lot. You know, like I tell a lot of people, not everybody has a boat, but everybody can ice fish. So it's busy just about every weekend and during the week as long as the weather cooperates.
Long-term forecasts at the National Weather Service say a mild winter is to be expected, which could mean warmer temperatures and a shorter season for, say, ice fishing. A meteorologist at the NWS says there is one reason behind the expected mild conditions.
Typically during strong El Niños, we see warmer than normal temperatures. So that might involve a little slower processes for developing some of that ice on inland lakes. Hard to say for sure at this point because a lot of it depends on the overall weather pattern.
Phillips says ice usually starts to form in the month of December, but could be pushed back if the mild conditions remain. He says there are some key factors to look out for if the ice turns out to be thinner.
If you see thinner ice or ice that might be a little bit more milky, or ice that has water on it or slush on it, that is indicative of more hazardous ice, and it should be avoided. Thicker ice is usually clearer ice with a little bit of a blue tinge to it.
Phillips and Cretan say you can never be too safe when it comes to ice, but both say to enjoy the fishing season no matter how long it may be. Cameron Shin, TV6 News, Gladstone.
Hey, welcome back. I'm sure you're wondering, are we in for a bitterly cold and snowy winter, or is it going to be more moderate and quieter? These answers and more in this year's Winter Outlook. As we get closer to December, many of you might be anxiously waiting for some good snow. This winter, the main global feature is the El Niño. It's also the reason why we should have a slower start to winter. El Niño is the warm phase of Enzo, the El Niño Southern Oscillation. It's when abnormally warm sea surface temperatures develop along the equatorial Pacific. The trade winds along the equator weaken, allowing warmer waters to spread. This causes an oceanic and atmospheric feedback system to form, which impacts pressure and precipitation patterns. Stormy conditions develop along the equatorial Pacific, while higher pressure sets up over Indonesia with drier weather. Then a strong area of low pressure forms in the Gulf of Alaska, followed by a dominating area of high pressure in western Canada and low pressure in the southeastern U.S. This setup weakens and pushes the polar jet stream farther north, allowing warmer air across the northern U.S. Secondly, the abundance of moisture at the equator allows a strong Pacific jet to develop, bringing wet, colder conditions across the southern U.S., where most storms will track. If cold enough, this results in a snowier winter across the south. The strength of an El Niño is measured by the Oceanic Niño Index, which is the sea surface temperature anomaly over 3 months. A positive value of 0.5 degrees Celsius classifies an El Niño. A range of 1.5 degrees C to 2 degrees C above normal indicates a strong El Niño. That's where anomalies are expected to peak this winter. In the last 75 years, we've had 26 El Niño winters, of which 5 were strong. On average, that equates to 1 strong El Niño winter every 15 years. I'm sure you're wondering what the snowfall was like during some of those winters. First, let's look at normal snowfall amounts in some of our well-documented areas. They are as follows. The Houghton area gets 207 inches of snow, 185 inches in Ironwood, 177 inches in Ontonagon, Marquette 102 inches, and Escanaba 46 inches of snow. You can see we have a wide variance across the UP. Now let's look back at some El Niño years. During weak El Niño years like 2006 to 2007, it was snowier. With a moderate El Niño like in 2009 to 2010, snowfall is slightly below normal, with higher elevations getting closer to normal snowfall. But there's a notable difference during very strong El Niño years, like in 2016 to 2017. During that period, the southern UP experienced less snow than normal, while the lake effect snow belts in the west, the Keweenaw, and the northeast had near typical ranges. This year, with a strong El Niño, winter across the northern U.S. will be milder, including the UP, which could mean more wintry mixture. Below normal precipitation will lead to a drier winter in the north, with wet and colder conditions in the south. The Great Lakes will trend drier, especially downstate, as storm tracks will mainly be in the southern states. We could expect less snow in parts of the UP, with the typical snow belts reaching near normal amounts, and a generally milder winter. Winter in the UP is a way of life. It's a time where people hit the slopes enjoying crisp air and fresh powder, daringly climb our frozen waterfalls, traverse our countless miles of trails, or blaze a path of their own through the backwoods. Or for people like me, it's a time to take a step back, enjoy the peace and beauty of the Upper Peninsula. Regardless of how you enjoy winter, do so safely and follow our TV6 weather team. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Perez. Thanks for watching our 2023-2024 Winter Special.